You're listening to the Bust-Proof Business Podcast, taking your business to the next level by taking you out of it. With our experience and proven results, we'll help you find the success that many crave, but only we can help you achieve. It's time to get started with your host, Greg Murphy.
Hey guys, it's Greg Murphy from the Bust-Proof Business Podcast, and today we finally get a chance to talk to my buddy Caleb Roth. And you guys know Caleb, he's the book flipper. You can find him at thebookflipper.com. And we're going to talk about the state of the market, basically, for booksellers. You know, we're going to, all the market trends, all these new fees have been a pain in the tail for all of us. But there's actually some good news in there, and Caleb and I are going to get into it really, really deep and really heavy. So it's going to be a good time, and you might need to take notes. This is the good news about the podcast, is you can always replay it. You can play it as much as you'd like, but we get pretty heavy here. Without any further ado, let's talk to Caleb Roth. Hey guys, I'm here today with Caleb Roth, and you guys know Caleb as the book nerd, the guy that knows all the data. He's our quant here at Bust-Proof and the book community in general. So how are you doing today, Caleb?
I'm rocking and rolling. The sun is shining here in Denver and ready to go.
Awesome. So obviously you know that probably better than most of us that there are a huge tectonic shift in Amazon fees over the past few months, and it's had a big impact on the market.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, you're a resource that many in the community, me as well. When we think about data analysis, we think about you, especially when it has to do with books. So can you go over some of the impact of these new fees for third-party sellers and then in the book market in general?
Yeah, let's jump right in. As you know, and a lot of other people are aware, Amazon has been trying to play the let's get rid of inventory game from our warehouses for the last probably 12 months. They tried to incentivize sellers to remove some inventory by letting them do it for free. And they did that a few times too many, and we all got used to it. And then when they removed the free charges to remove it, I think several of us got a little upset. I know you were as well.
Yeah, it cost about $12,000, so that was no fun.
Yeah, you said you removed what, about 85,000, give or take?
It was a lot. Yeah,
yeah, that's a few bucks. So Amazon been trying fruitlessly, actually, to try and clear up space in their warehouses, and I think that's what this is all about. And the second piece we'll get into later is I think they're sick of growing the market share and not making much money, and they're finally trying to be a little more profitable. So we'll chat about that in a minute, but we knew the fees were coming, and in typical Amazon fashion, they actually announced them a little bit in advance, but they split it up over 2 emails. So Amazon will send you an email and say, hey, couple good things. You know, merchant fulfilled sellers can set their own shipping rates. That's a plus. You can now qualify for the buy box on new media. That's a plus. And then, hey, don't read down this far in the email, but we're raising the final value fee up to $1.80 from $1.35 for everybody. Okay, ignore that. Thanks for everything. Bye. Sincerely, Jeff Bezos and everybody here at Amazon. So that was, there's a couple fees that come into play, and we'll just talk about them real quickly here and then get to where the market's going. So the first one was that 45-cent increase. And that affected you whether you're doing merchant fulfilled or FBA, doesn't matter. That's a 45-cent increase to everybody. And how many books did you sell in January, Greg?
Oh, shoot. You asked me too quickly. I'd have to look, but I'm thinking 40,000 maybe a little bit more. I'm not 100% sure though.
Yeah. So 40,000 times 45 cents is about 18 grand, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I might have done that wrong. 40,000 books times 0.45. I should be able to do this in my head. No, it's $18,000. Yeah. I sold a little over 3,000 books, so that's going to hit me up about $1,400. So that hurts right there. There's a couple other fees that came into play though. One of them was aimed just at merchant fulfilled sellers. And so I know you're kind of moving more back that direction. Mm-hmm. And that was a 15% commission, which was already there before, but now it applies to shipping. So back in the golden days, you get this question way too many times, and I know you want to smack yourself in the head. How do you make money on penny books? Well,
the good news, Caleb, is you can't anymore. That's
right. There are no penny books anymore.
Yeah.
So this fee doesn't hurt FBA because we already had free shipping. And the reason Amazon's doing this is eBay used to get burned because you could sell like a $100 item for $2 plus $98 shipping, and eBay didn't used to take any fees out of shipping. Well, they got sick of not making the money there. People were abusing the system. And so eBay changed their system several years ago to just start charging a full, I think it's 10% on the entire purchase price, list price plus shipping. Amazon's doing the same thing now that third-party sellers can set their own shipping rates. But what that means is for merchant fulfilled, the shipping rate was $3.99. So if you sold a penny book plus $3.99, that's a $4 book. Well, your 15% fee that you used to pay, 15% of a penny is zero. So you didn't pay any referral fee on that sale. Now your referral fee is going to be 60 cents, 15% of $4. So your fees just went up 45 cents on the final value fee plus 60 cents. So you're in for $1.05 extra if you don't change your prices. So that's the effect on merchant fulfilled sellers. So what we would expect is in an efficient market, all the merchant fulfilled sellers would get smarter and stop selling books for a penny and start selling books for $1.06 plus shipping. So we should see a new floor price of about just over $5. If everybody, again, if it was a perfectly efficient market. On the other end of the spectrum, prime sellers actually got hit with two additional fees. So the one was the 45-cent increase on final value fee. Again, that was the same for merchant fulfilled, and for prime sellers. The second one was that the fulfillment fee increased. So when Amazon ships a book out, they used to have multiple fees all wrapped together from their warehouse. They'd have a pick and pack shipping fee. They had kind of a flat fee and then like a weight-based fee. Well, they consolidated that, which sounds cool because they're consolidating. Usually when you consolidate fees, they go down. In Amazon's case, they consolidate fees and they went up. So they consolidated the fees, and on average, for like a 1 pound book, it costs FBA sellers an extra $1.08, and on a 2 pound and up, it's about $1.88.
Right.
So it hurts us anywhere between $1 to $2 plus the 45-cent initial. So we're up to about $2 to $2.50 in extra fees right now for FBA. So if you're selling merchant fulfilled, your fees went up roughly $1. If you're selling prime, your fees went up roughly $2. That's the bottom line. And then one additional whammy for prime sellers is that we used to get this lovely exemption if we had one of any particular book in stock. So you could build an inventory of hundreds of or thousands of long tail books that might sell 2 to 3 copies a year, and it didn't matter. You were paying 1 to 2 cents a month for storage fees forever. Well, Amazon is not in the storage game. And again, they've tried to clear their warehouses out in the past and were unsuccessful. And they finally said, let's hit sellers where it hurts. Let's hit them in their pockets. And they got rid of that exemption as of February 15th.
And so you talked about having a couple thousand long tails. Well, it even gets worse when you have 80,000 long tail books, right? So
Absolutely.
And so what we've decided to do, and from what I'm hearing from some of the companies that I work with, some of the vendors that I work with, what their customers are doing as well, the larger customers are saying, let's kind of move back with some of these marginal titles. Let's move away from FBA and move back into merchant fulfilled for some of the stuff that's marginal. And what we're doing, in fact, is saying this is kind of pushing us to move off of Amazon to where this is making us double down faster on the brick and mortar stores, to where we're going to try to increase our average sales price on Amazon to, $15 or more, hopefully in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to go. It's going to be harder for you and some of the bigger players to make that adjustment quickly. For me, because I'm small and nimble, there's just me, my wife, and we have a handful of scouts. We just change our parameters and start buying better books, and we may buy fewer of them, but we can at least control that a little bit better. In your game, you're trying to make, squeeze as many pennies as you can from every single book that comes through your line. And, selling on the shelves or in a physical store may yield some better margins for you.
Okay, so that's everything to do with the fees, with the new fees. Is there anything else you want to talk about that specifically?
Remember, the bottom line, merchant fulfilled is about $1 extra.
Mm-hmm.
FBA is about $2 extra. And just to quantify the long-term storage fees on a typical book, so not a textbook, just a standard, 6 by 9 inch book by, half inch thick or whatever. So kind of your standard paperback or smaller hardback. That's going to be about 30 cents for the 6-month storage fees and roughly 60 cents. So if you sat on that for an extra year and it didn't sell, you're paying about an extra 90 cents. So to your point, if you're selling marginal material and you're selling books at an average sale price of $8 to $10, and you're paying these storage fees, that extra $1, if you're not selling it, can really impact those margins.
Yeah, it can be a pain. And so really the stuff, most of what we're sending into FBA now are textbooks that we plan to get a premium on.
Yep.
and books that we have too many copies in merchant and we don't have one in FBA. Those are the only items as of right now today that we're sending to FBA.
Sure.
And that's really just until we come up with a better strategy. Because as you said, we're not nearly as nimble. You guys are like on a ski-doo and we're on a cruise ship. So it takes us a little bit more time to kind of move around a little bit.
Yeah, you got to kind of set your course and figure out what's going to happen. It'd be interesting if you could track, and maybe we could look at your data some other time, but it'd be interesting to track what percent of your Prime books are selling when you have a Prime book and a merchant fulfilled on the same listing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I do have the data from all the sales that I've made in the past however many years, whatever Amazon keeps. I've downloaded that recently, and we're going to start playing around with that too. So I'd be happy to send you a copy.
Yeah, it'd be fun to dig into a little bit.
Yeah, I know we've done that before with some of our data for your blog. We haven't got a chance yet to talk, really give you much of an introduction. Most people here probably know who you are, but you have the Book Flipper, the bookflipper.com site. And and so let's talk about what you're doing lately. You're doing these like sort of state of the market posts.
I am, yeah.
So what I was excited about was when you started talking about that I get a whole bunch of books just left the market after these fee changes. Can you talk
absolutely.
about that?
Yeah. So just a backstory on the blog. I started that maybe a year and a half ago, just after I'd started my book selling adventure. And it was really just designed to meet people in the community. Being an entrepreneur, even if you have employees, can somewhat be lonely. It's hard to, connect with people that understand your mindset. And so I just built the blog as a way to connect and meet people. And it's been awesome. So if you happen to stumble across it and like what you read, drop me a line, reach out. It's always fun to connect and chat. And that's why I do the blog, and it keeps me going. But yeah, to your point, I decided in January, we knew these fees were coming and there was a lot of uncertainty. A lot of the Facebook groups, people were saying, I'm getting out of the business altogether, and just a lot of unnecessary fear. But, it's also somewhat founded because these changes were going to hurt. So I set a benchmark in January. I said, you know what, let's just rely on the data, keep calm and trust the data. Let's just see where the market is. Let's establish a baseline. What's the average used book price? What's the median? So the middle book price, where is Amazon on those? How many sellers are out there? Let's just get a rough idea of the market, and then we'll track it once a month. I think I'll probably continue it throughout this entire year and just see what happens to the market. If the fees go up $1 for merchant fulfilled sellers, but the average book goes up $1, then it's a neutral change. It doesn't even impact anything.
What we're seeing so far, I mean, I haven't checked in the last week or so, but sort of how we first started our new strategy was to say, well, this is what Better World Books is doing. This is what the big guys are saying. $5.99 is a new penny book. So I'm going to do that too until I know differently, right? Until the data tells me to do something different.
Are they out there saying that? Because
No.
$5.99 is the floor price. So is it like, do you guys all have like an email that you reach out and price collude on this, or what?
Buddy, no one talks to anyone. If you remember, before I started talking about bulk books, it was not something that ever was brought up.
Correct. And I know a lot of the especially bigger players probably weren't thrilled that you were introducing people to that concept either.
I very much doubt that we have any impact at all on these massive guys. The only time that happens is when one of the brokers, somebody that brokers their material out, tries to slip one by and sell us something they've already gone through. That's the only time. Because, we're doing 3 loads a week, 3 or 4 loads a week. These guys are doing 3 or 4 loads a day at one of their locations. I mean, it's just not like we sell as many books as, like, comparatively as I sell to you is what we sell to them, right? So it's not like one person can't affect that market. But anyway, so no, there's no like master list of like people with pinky rings and nothing like that happens. But that's another way to look at it, right? That's how things can look that way, right? It all comes down to heuristics. Information is expensive. And so I'm assuming that they have a bunch of data guys in there figuring out that that's the price they want to be at. And so I'm going to say, well, I could do all that myself, but let's just assume until I know otherwise that these guys aren't idiots. I mean, they do this for a living, and so we'll figure out how that affects our margins over the next couple of months. But for now, it looks like we're going to take advantage of the work that our competitors are doing.
Sure. And what's interesting, remember the average fee for merchant fulfilled went up $1.05. So if you take a penny book, which used to be $4 in the old environment, and now it goes up to $5.99 plus free shipping, you just bumped that up $1.99 when it only needed to go up $1.05. So there's actually a pretty good opportunity to make money with merchant fulfilled books if you're playing the slim margin, just sell tons of quantity game. That market actually went up a little higher than it probably should have, and we'll see. Someone at some point is going to drop it to $5.98, $5.97, and we're going to race down until someone can't make money at a margin, and we'll kind of reach a new normal.
Well, the other piece is with the economy revving up a little bit, transportation costs are going up some, and now the vendors that we work with, DHL and all the rest, they're feeling like they're able to raise prices a little bit more than they have over the past few years.
Okay, so there's a little bit higher cost in play.
Mm-hmm. Now, I can't at all speak for the cost structure of these really big players,
Sure.
but I know that's the case for us.
Well, and the piece is too, remember FBA fees went up roughly $2. So in the past, you could sell a $4 FBA book. You wouldn't really make money, but you weren't losing money at that price either. It's kind of a break even.
Mm-hmm.
Now the break even for Prime is about $6. So my hunch is the $5.99 price isn't based on merchant fulfilled margins. It's based on the fact that Prime sellers can't really go under $6 anymore. And merchant fulfilled sellers are smart enough to realize that. And so the floor price is actually more impacted by the FBA fees than anything else.
Well, I would assume that would evolve, right? As these big guys fight with each other, that number will go down then. If what you're saying is accurate, then it'll start be competing against FBA. But then once, one of the big guys undercuts the other big guy by a penny, we'll start seeing that down to what that actual true floor is.
Exactly. That's my hunch.
So tell us then what happened. You have a blog article about it, but tell us what happened after these big fee changes. Did everybody take their ball and go home?
Some people did.
Okay.
And so, yeah, if you want to check out, you can head over to thebookflipper.com. I've got a post there called The State of the Book Market 2017, and we're updating it monthly. Last week, I think on Friday, I posted the March results. So in January, just as that baseline, the average used book on Amazon, and I'll back up one more step. We have an entire database of nearly every book on Amazon, at least with a sales rank. It's in our eFlip software. We'll get to that a little bit later as well. But so we basically have a snapshot of the entire market. We've got upwards of 25 million books in there, and nearly every book with their sales rank under 1 million. So we've got a really good understanding. And remember, 1 million, on sales rank is fickle. It moves around quite a bit. But 1 million rank typically means a book has sold a copy within the last 5 to 7 days. So you're getting a pretty good understanding of what the market looks like. So of all the books with a rank under 1 million, the average number of used offers on any given listing was 41. I figured that would come down somewhat because if you can't sell a book and make a profit at a penny, you'd just remove it from the market. Maybe you'd quit and take all your books off the market. And then with the long-term storage fees coming into play, that was kind of a double whammy. And we figured the market would correct. But as you know, Amazon's a very inefficient market in some ways, and there's always price discrepancies and the prices are moving around quite a bit. So I figured this would take 2 to 3 months for the dust to settle. But in February, I checked at the end of the month, so just 2 weeks after the new fees went into play. Actually, a lot of the fees went into play February 22, so really just a week. And the number of listings went from 41 to 29. So we lost nearly a third of all the offers out there. They just evaporated.
So that 41 to 29 is the average number of offers per ASIN.
Yes, average number of used offers. The new offers went from like 25 to 19, so not as much, but a lot of players either, like for me, we got rid of a third of our inventory. You said you got rid of, 85,000 out of what, 300,000?
Yeah, give or take, yeah.
So you got rid of almost a third of your inventory, and then some sellers just quit altogether. And so the effect of that, you're an economics major, or do you say economics?
Oh, either way is fine.
Well, economics, you drop the supply, what happens to price?
Yeah, it should go up.
It should go up. And we saw that as well. So the volume of sellers went down. In March, it stayed roughly the same. It actually stabilized. So we went down to 28.9 in February, average offers per title, 29.2 in March. So it found a new floor, found some resistance, and we'll see where it goes from there. The interesting thing, we look at the median price. In January, the median price was $6.96. So the reason we use median is this data is going to be right skewed, which means there's lots of offers bunched up on the low end of the equation. There's tons of penny offers. and there's a bunch of really, really long tail items that really skew the distribution. So if you look at an average price, it's gonna be just way off potentially, because you've got sellers that don't really have a book and they just have a baseline price of $2,000 on a romance novel because they're the only listing. That's not a fair assessment. So median price, the middle price, kind of helps take that out. So in January it was $6.96. In February it jumped up all the way to $8.84. So almost $2 jump within a month, and that's just a matter of a third of the sellers packing up their stuff and going home or removing their inventory from the market.
Yeah. Okay. But now that you talk, that's interesting. I don't know that it's telling us what we think it's telling us because of those super high end. Because what's happening then, and I want you to tell me if I'm sounding way off base. But from what you just said, it sounds like those like what's happening is the low numbers are getting skewed. The low numbers are getting taken off the market, but those like $2,000 numbers are not.
Correct. And we actually cross section the data in the post as well to kind of get you a better feel.
Okay.
Because median and mean, when we're talking a million books in a sample size, you can definitely get lost in the weeds rather than diving in and saying, hey, here's what's actually happening. So we saw the median price go from $6.96 in January to $8.84, and then it trickled up just slightly in March as well to $9.06. So we've moved up a little more than right at $2.10 within a matter of 2 months. And that's the middle price.
Right.
Now we can actually, again, we can cross-section the data. So in January, 33% of all books, used books, the lowest used price was a penny. It was $4 or less total, including shipping. So that's a penny plus $3.99, or a prime seller selling for $4 plus free shipping. In March, so 2 months later, you only have 3% of books out there. So 3% of sellers didn't get the memo that they can't make money at a penny anymore, and they're still there. But we saw 30%. So we dropped from 33 to 3%, kind of shifted their books up and raised the prices.
So then that average or the competitive, what I'm super interested in, I don't know if this is even possible to do. If you can take an average of, at some point, take an average of the first 2 or 3 pages of Amazon. So like however many offers. So like I would love to see the average of the lowest 20 offers or something on a listing. I think that would be an
we could do that. We'd have to use we have to use the MWS data, which we can do in smaller batches versus what we've done with eFlip. But we can see the lowest 20 offers, and you could actually make some, look at some of the data there.
That would be interesting as well. But overall, the point is that median prices are up by over $2 because of these changes.
Yes, and mean prices at the same time. So the average is up about $1.50. So, and we definitely saw the movement happen in the low price books. In January, your chances of finding a book that was $8 or less, including shipping, like if you were just, random books, you had a 55% chance of the lowest price being $8 or less. 2 months later, in March, you had a 45% chance of it being $8 or less. So the whole market kind of was just raised up. It's like the oceans, got a ton of rain and all the ships, what do they say? A rising market carries all ships or something like that.
Something like that. But so what this is telling me then, though, is that Amazon, for their whole history of being around, and I'm reading all these fights that Amazon and Walmart are both having with suppliers about lowering costs for customers.
Yes.
Yes. This is what in the used book market, they're doing the exact opposite.
Correct. And it remains to be seen, if you had a third chance as a buyer of going in and buying a book for $4 or less, 1 out of 3 books were at that price. And now 2 months later, the average or the median price has gone up. You have a third chance now of finding it for $6 or less. So $4 to $6 is a 50% increase.
Right.
So before you'd walk into a used bookstore and, if you're at a dollar book swap like yours and you can find a book for $1, that's always going to be cheaper than you can get it for online. Now that I know a lot of used bookstores charge $3 and $4. And so if you could just find it online, there's no point in trying to go find it in the community because it'll be at your house within a couple days. Now it's going to be $6.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Hey, I'm lazy. I don't want to go try and, even we got some good bookstores here in Denver, but they're probably not going to have the book I want.
No, but there is kismet, and there is, you find the section and you peruse. That's not something they do too well on Amazon.
No, and then I'll turn into my dad where I walk into a used bookstore and, 2 hours later, I realize that I've been in there for 2 hours.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you. I just had to shame you for a bit. But go ahead.
No, it's all good. So we definitely saw if the prices are going up like that, customers may start looking elsewhere. They may go to other websites. They may start looking more locally to try and find the books. We'll see what happens to the demand. We know that the supply of books went down, therefore prices should go up. But if prices went up, that should probably impact demand as well. And that's kind of the missing piece of this puzzle that no one knows what's going to happen yet.
We're seeing then, if I get this right, that the upward price changes are greater than the fee increases, or no?
Especially on the lower end, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for FBA sellers, that's 100% of my business. I like to travel, and I don't want to deal with shipping books at all. So I need to get roughly $2 more for my books if I'm going to remain at the same prices that I was before. And right now, the median price has gone up $2.10. So far, so good. Everything looks okay. And my chances of finding, let's say, a $20 book, I had a 17% chance of, 17% of all the books had the lowest price was $20 or higher in January. Now it's 20%. So even though the lower books are really where the prices change in the $4 to $6 to $8 range, it actually had an impact on some of the higher price books as sellers got out of the game or dropped their inventory. So my chances of finding expensive books in the field, at least based on the data we're seeing from Amazon, I should have a higher chance of finding those.
Now let's put on let's get your Magic 8 Ball out, and let's talk about like the future. What do you think? How do you predict the used book market panning out for third party sellers, for consumers, for everybody?
Man, well, I'll just say my 8 ball's broken, and even if people can predict the future. It's kind of like stock analysts. We're very bullish on the market, and then 2 months later they realize they're way wrong. I'm impressed with how quickly the market has adapted. I thought it was going to take 2 to 3 to 4 months for the dust to settle, and it's pretty much found a new normal within 2 months.
I really did too. Before you go on, I really did too, especially with some of these larger thrift stores, where the people running their e-commerce department might be a kid that they saw that had a good Instagram following, so they just assumed they could also run an e-commerce business. So I kind of thought that those type of institutional customers and sellers on Amazon would sort of be a little late to the party.
And there's still a few. There's still 3% of offers out there that have $4 prices or less, which you're losing money at those rates right now.
But what should happen is that the rest of us normal people should drag those prices up just because of them repricing the way they used to.
Correct.
Hopefully.
So what's going to happen in the market? Right now, we know the supply went down. I know some sellers did quit. I think we're going to see more sellers get back into it to some extent. There's still room to make money. And in an efficient market theory, if there's a way to make money, people are going to come in and keep exploiting it until the opportunities diminish. So I would expect to see the supply of books steadily start to go back up, but that's going to take a little while. It's easy to dump inventory. It's harder to go find it and start building back up. So I would expect the supply of books to go back up. I think we're going to see the prices trickle down a little bit, especially as these big institutional merchant fulfilled companies realize they can actually still turn a profit at $5.50 instead of $5.99. So I think we're going to see the prices come back down just a little bit, and that should help. If sellers or buyers, are leaving the market because they don't want to pay $6 instead of $4, as those prices come back down, we may see the demand go back up as well. But there's nothing. I can't tell you, is this going to be a perfect area to still make money 6 months from now or 12 months from now? I don't know that.
Well, I mean, none of us do. But I mean, my contention is that if this didn't stop us, if these changes didn't really make an impact and the whole market was able to adjust pretty quickly, and what will happen whenever you have fee increases and price increases is that the customer is almost always the one that bears the burden. That's just the way that the market works.
Oh, absolutely.
If there was any extra profit there, somebody else would have came and squeezed it out. So,
and we could get into tax theory on that too. There's no such thing as a corporate tax because all those taxes trickle down to the corporate employees, to shareholders, or ultimately the customer. But that'll be a topic for another day.
And yeah, that'll be a fun fight that we should not have on this particular podcast. But yeah, that'll be a good time. Maybe over a couple of beers next time I'm in Denver.
There we go.
But yeah, so let's move on a little bit. And one of the things that I was concerned about was a lot of the negativity from the community, where there are people that are always looking for the sky to fall. And
there's also people too, and I try and be unbiased because it's a double-edged sword. I make money on Amazon, so if more people quit and leave, great. It's easier for me to make money. On the other end of the equation, or the other side of the coin, I make money selling. I got ads on my website. I got a little bit of affiliate marketing, and I sell software. So the more people that come in and sell on Amazon, I have more of those potential customers. So, either way, if more customers come to the market, it's harder for me to make money selling physical books, but easier to make money selling information, or vice versa. If people get out, it's harder to sell information, but it's easier to sell books. So I really don't care which way it goes, but you're right. You've got people that are, the sky is falling and they're always looking to be negative. And then you've got people saying, no, the sky isn't falling. It's perfect time to be in books because maybe they're selling information. So I tried to remove the bias and just say, let's look at the data. Let's see what's happening to the market, and you can make up your own mind. But don't say the sky is falling until you've actually analyzed it or opened your eyes and looked and see if the sky really is falling or if it's just something else entirely.
I mean, for my business, the best thing could be that nobody else sold books on Amazon. Like that.
Oh, you'd love to be the only one, absolutely.
Yeah. But in general, I honestly don't think that there's that 1,000 or 5,000 new single Amazon sellers could really have a huge impact on the market when the number and the quantity of books that these mega companies are going through, it dwarfs everything that almost everybody's doing.
I completely agree.
So I think that what happens is, especially, and guys, one piece of advice that I'm sure Caleb would agree with is get out of those Amazon seller forums. Those places are just absolute poison. On the Amazon site itself, do you ever go to the seller forums there, Caleb?
I do, and I would probably get rid of Facebook if I didn't have a way to connect with this community as well as customers, because just the amount of negativity is just it's not laughable. It's criable, I guess. But
yeah, it's super bad on like the Amazon forums themselves. The Amazon seller forums themselves are just those guys are just the absolute and doomsday. I mean, I assume they're all wearing tinfoil hats and they all bought the food insurance, and so they're all like sitting in a bunker somewhere because it's just.
And they're either really legitimately afraid or they're trying to manipulate the market and just cause panic and cause other people to quit.
I doubt it's the second one. These are the cat people that they just they're not leaving the house. It's the people that I've always preached against the whole time, which is you go to the library sale once a month and buy the books, and then for the rest of the month you watch daytime television and fill orders, and then you assume that you're a full-time bookseller.
Wait, you're saying that's not a legitimate business?
I don't believe so, especially not anymore. No, you have to work every day. Filling orders does not count. I'm sorry, guys.
No, and this isn't, people want to just believe you can walk out and buy, 50 books and make enough money to live on for the month and you're good. This business involves a lot of hard work. You just have to develop systems, understand your numbers, and build something.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to the eFlip software that you have.
So real quick, I'd love to get there. Let's talk two other things that Amazon's doing right now that are kind of under the radar.
Okay.
So we know they're raising fees. They're trying to make more money, free up room in the warehouses. I think they're successful in both of those based on what we've seen. The second thing they're doing is, and again, I think Amazon's been sick of growing market share for years and years and years. If you look at, their sales top line just keeps growing exponentially, but their profit margins are tiny. We're talking like 1% or 2%, or if not losing money every single quarter. And Amazon's sick of that. And they're finally, investors are sick of it. They say, great, you've built this tremendous platform. Now let's start capitalizing on it. So one thing they're doing is they're raising the fees. So now they're making a little more money per book. The second thing they're doing, do you have an affiliate account? Do you refer people to Amazon and make a little bit of a cut on that?
I know that I have one, but I haven't ever made any. I've never done what you're doing on your website. I've never done that.
Yeah, so I kind of play around with it a little bit. It used to be a tiered structure, and if I referred people to the books category or wherever else, I could earn as much as 8.5% of that sale. So that 15% that Amazon is charging you on your books on the final value fee is called an affiliate or a referral fee, and they will give up to 8.5% of that to affiliates who referred the listing. If Amazon themselves referred it, they'll just pocket the whole 15%. They now capped that. So instead of 8.5%, they dropped it to 4.5%, which really hurts some of these businesses because there's websites that just build businesses based off affiliate referrals. And now they saw their income get cut as much as 50%.
That's interesting. So did they forecast that, or was it just a quick change?
They just kind of slipped it in under the radar. I don't even think I saw an email from them.
Wow.
I actually found that on one of the message boards, and they kind of said, "Hey, we're just cutting your commission fees." So again, they're sick of not making profit, and this is another way for them to extract a little more and put it in their pocket. The second thing, and again, a little bit sneakily, I heard you talking the other day about when you sell a book that's 12 ounces or more, Amazon will actually round that up to just over a pound, and then it rounds up to 2 pounds. It's in the 1 to 2 pound category as far as shipping is concerned. And the reason they do that is because their packaging material costs money, not just costs money, but there's a weight to it, to the cardboard. Mm-hmm. Well, it is. So 12 ounces is the magic number. 12.1 ounces rounds up, 12 ounces rounds down, and that's your weight categories. Well, 2 months ago, that number was 14 ounces. So again, they quietly changed it. And I heard you say 12 ounces. I'm like, that's not right. It's 14, because we had just run a bunch of numbers for eFlip to make sure we're calculating things properly. And we went back, and sure enough, they had changed it. And I didn't see anything publicly mentioned about this. But 12 ounces now rounds up over the pound rate.
And that is a big number now in FBA because of that huge jump between 1 and 2 pounds.
It's a huge number. So a 1 pound book costs $1.08 extra, and a 2 pound book costs $1.88.
That's insane.
So now everything between 12 and 14 ounces, you're now getting charged an extra 80 cents compared to what you would have been before.
Yeah, that's a little frustrating.
So Amazon's trying to make money. One last thing, if you're into conspiracy theories, Amazon has been manipulating the new prices of books quite a bit lately. So they have gone in, and their average price of a new book in January was $27. In February, it dropped to $18. And a lot of people were commenting. This is actually something that I actually picked up on through the Facebook group. So there is some value there. They were, they're saying, hey, I listed my book for, $12, and I came back a month later and Amazon's on the listing for $8.50. So Amazon's been dropping the prices. Well, March, their average price went back up to $28, so higher than in January. But they still have a lot of outlier low prices. If I was a betting man, and this is where, my crystal ball will help predict the future, I could be way off base. My hunch is because Amazon's raising the fees, they're going to be pushing the risk to third-party sellers, whether that's FBA or merchant fulfilled. They're now sharing the new buy box with third-party sellers. My hunch is they're going to stop selling not all new books, but a good chunk of new books, and let sellers carry the risk. If I want to drop $10 on a book, send it into Amazon and try and get 30 for it, Amazon's happy. They have zero cost tied up. They're charging me to store it. And when I sell it, they're going to take a third of that anyway. So why would they buy the book or hold it from the publisher or deal with any of that risk? They're just going to push it to third party. So my hunch is over time, we're going to see Amazon get out of selling new books. Not completely. They're on 70% of listings today. It wouldn't surprise me by June or July if they're down to 50%.
I agree with that. But that's a big difference, right? They're always going to want to sell the Grishams and the Stephen Kings. I mean, the stuff that they're moving volume of. I think that number could get even below 50%. But I have a hard time believing that they're going to leave that money on the table.
We'll see. On a $10 book, I don't know what Amazon's structure with publishers is. That's up to them. I guess I could call some publishers and find out if they'd be willing to share. But on a $10 book for you and me selling it Prime, they're going to take, $6 or $7 of that now. So they're going to make the money whether, the publisher sold it or whether we sold it as a third party.
It just sounds opposite to Amazon's philosophy to give up. It seems like they're going into more places, not less. But it could be. They are picking off some of the private label sellers.
You come up with a great idea, you put it on their site, they have all your data, so they see, oh my goodness, this new product has great sales velocity, it's selling thousands of copies a month of whatever it is, and they get their engineers in a room and go find your supplier and knock off your product under the Amazon Basics brands, and they pirate your listing, and you can't compete with Amazon. So I think they're doing that in some cases, but I think on these longer tail books, there's not a lot of money for them in it.
Right.
And they'd rather just push the risk to us, let us supply enough for the market to keep realistic prices for buyers, and they'll make their money off fees.
And we do know that they are sick and tired of storing used books at their facilities. I mean, that's what they made that perfectly crystal clear with the new one ASIN limit restriction.
Yes.
Or from long-term storage fees. Anyway, let's get to eFlip before I have to go, because this is the prime time now to start buying books using your software to start getting them sent in for textbook season. It's April now. It's getting a little warm outside. April, May, and June is the best times to make sure to place those orders to do that textbook arbitrage. So can you talk a little bit about your software and ways that the folks can use that to make a little cash?
Yeah, so eFlip, the basic goal is you buy merchant fulfilled books, and again, there's usually a gap between merchant fulfilled and Prime. Not always, but sometimes I think Anitra calls it the Prime. What does she call it? The Prime bump.
Could be.
Anyway, there's a lot of listings, especially textbooks. Students want Prime. They want free 2-day shipping, and just Americans are impatient anyway. So a lot of regular books, they just want the book at their house. They want to make sure that Amazon's going to deal with the customer service, and they're willing to pay more for it. So eFlip, again, we've got a huge database of books. We update it continuously. Several thousand ISBNs get updated every single minute. So it's about as current as Amazon lets us be with their data. And we're going in trying to find cheap merchant fulfilled books, get them shipped to your house, or even a prep company if you don't want to deal with them. Send them into Amazon Prime, and you can make money off of that differential between merchant fulfilled and Prime. The other way to make money is just what you mentioned. Textbooks have a lot of seasonality, so you can buy books in the off season when there's not much demand. So it's perfect timing. April, May, June. Textbook sales will start to pick up end of July, and then August and September. I think you say you feel like a really smart person, twice out of the year, in August and in January, because books are just flying off the shelves.
Yeah, I always say I feel like a genius between July and January, and an idiot between February and June.
Exactly. So it's a great time right now, just from the seasonality. There's not much demand for books, and people are trying to get the next sale, so the repricers are kicking in, and you can find textbooks at steals of prices right now in the summer, and then send them back in Prime. And not only are you making money off of the differential between merchant fulfilled and Prime, but you're making money off the seasonality. So we're essentially turning people into glorified commodities traders.
Basically, yeah. And what happens is that feeding off the edges of these larger companies, there's tons of money to be made. I know people that come to my book swap in July to buy textbooks from my shelf because the ones we put in, just customers of our people from the Busproof community.
Yep.
So I always love to see that. But
and I give you grief every once in a while too, because I'll buy your books on Amazon, merchant fulfilled, and then try and flip them around Prime. And sometimes I'm right and I win, and sometimes I'm wrong and you win.
Well, I win either way. I sold the book. I'm done. You do what you want to do.
It's willing buyer, willing seller. And actually, with these new fees and with people getting out of the game, there's actually a lot fewer FBA offers than there used to be.
Right.
And so the opportunity here, even though you used to be able to buy merchant fulfilled books for $4 shipped to your front door, now you're paying $6, if not more. That doesn't bother me. I'm not afraid to spend money on books. But what's happening is, with fewer people selling Prime, the demand for Prime is still there. It's estimated that as high as 50% of Americans have a Prime membership and are willing to pay more just to get the books delivered quickly, or any items delivered quickly. And with FBA sellers getting out of the game, again, it's a supply demand issue. If there's fewer FBA sellers selling it and the demand is still high for them, then we're going to see those price differentials open up even more. And we already have seen that. So even if you don't want to sell textbooks, which that's where the money really is, there's still opportunity right now. I think there's a bigger differential between merchant fulfilled and Prime based on what we're seeing than I've seen in the last 15 months.
Real quick, right, and we're going to get to the website where you can find eFlip, but before we do, I know we're running out of time. My contention about the textbook market is that rather than ebooks being an issue, it's the rentals that are going to continue to be a thorn in our sides going forward. If you can grab your magic ball one more time, what do you think about, do you think textbook rentals are going to continue to be an issue, or are going to take up a bigger piece of the market in the future?
Well, we started seeing them on Amazon, I think in September of last year was the first time we started seeing them actually on the product listing pages along with the used book. So you could see a used book for $80 and a rental for, 50 or 60. So the more that they're in front of consumers and they have the opportunity to make a decision, they're going to be taking up a higher percentage of the pie. Will it kill the market tomorrow? I don't think so, but I think we're going to see a trend toward more people going to rentals. But I always bought the book because I might want to keep it. You tell yourself that and you never read it later. But I also knew that I could sell it later, even in college. So that wasn't an issue for me. I always wanted to buy it, own it, not have to worry about, if you forget to return it, now you're charged $200.
So then where can we find eFlip, and let us know about what's the cost structure? How does it work?
Yeah, so eFlip, there's a 3-day trial for everybody, and we don't charge you if you don't decide to continue using it. Every once in a while, we get someone that forgets to cancel, and it's not a big deal. Just email me. The funny thing with software is, someone will forget to, and this is just a side note again, but someone will forget to cancel, and they'll come up with all these excuses like, "Oh, I didn't think weekend days counted as days of the trial," or whatever it is. Just email and say, "Hey, I forgot to cancel. Can I get a refund?" Yeah, no problem. I don't want your money if you're not using the software. But it's a free 3-day trial. You can kind of get the hang of it. We've got several videos, part of eFlip University, as well as some eFlip bootcamp videos that we did with you and Brian last summer, actually. So we give lots of training how to use the software. And then after that, it's just $79 a month. No commitments. You can cancel anytime. Again, we don't want your money unless you're happily buying books and flipping them. And that's it in a nutshell. I think there's still a 3-month special out if you're a member of Busproof.
Oh, yeah?
We had set that up last summer, and we could probably set that up again for your audience as well. Maybe we'll put something in the Facebook group, but we had done that. We did kind of a 3-month deal because again, it's a great time to buy books through the summer here. And I think we gave like $40 or $50 discount if you prepaid for 3 months.
Yeah, we'll check that out before this goes up. We'll make sure that there's something there for the community. And we appreciate that, Caleb. I know a lot of people, and we'll also try to do some sort of training for folks that do the summer special again this year. What do you think about that?
I'd be down.
Awesome. Okay, so we'll make sure before this goes up that you and I talk when we're through here, and make sure we get that summer special up again. We didn't talk about this beforehand. I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah, absolutely. I got 2 more thoughts, and then I know we're over our time here, but I want to just share 2 things quickly. One is, no one knows what's going to happen to the market. We can, Greg and I can sit around and theorize and put our thinking caps on and say, hey, we think the market's going to do this. We don't know. It could get better tomorrow. It could all come crashing down. Nobody has any idea. My wife and my mantra this year is make hay while the sun shines. We don't know if the market's going to be here in 5 years. We don't know if it'll be here in 5 months. But we know one thing right now is that we can make money selling used books. So we could switch gears and try and sell private label, online arbitrage, other products outside of books, heaven forbid. I'd have to change my blog away from the book flipper to something else. But there's money in books. We know the market, and we're committed to sticking with it as long as there's a dollar to be made. And maybe we'll get bored and move on to something else later. But for now, we're going to make hay while the sun shines. And, for those of you that are doomsday and, the sky is falling, if there's room to make money today, keep doing it. Keep an eye toward the future and, see what's going on and make a decision to jump ship if you need to. But I think it's going to be a good place to make money for the foreseeable future. So that's our mantra. And the second thing, we talked about this just before we started the podcast, but the idea of enough. And, people are always worried about risk. And that's the number one objection to being an entrepreneur. Well, I can't work for myself because what if this happens or what if that happens? And maybe we'll do it on a different podcast, but talking about the power of enough and understanding, hey, how much money do you need? Or can you streamline that or cut some of your costs? If you need 10 grand to live on every single month, you're going to have to build a pretty big business to do it. But if you can cut your costs down to, 2 or 3 grand, which depending on where you live in the country, that's very doable. You need to take on a lot less risk to actually do that. And we'll get into that in a different podcast.
Yeah, I would love to talk to you all about that. Talk about how to be satisfied in your business. That's a gear that I don't have yet. Maybe we could spend some time on that for sure.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
All right, brother. Well, thanks. I appreciate your time today, Caleb. And hope you guys are listening to this. You could take notes. You have this now on your iPad, on your iPod, or whatever, however you listen to it. you want to go back through this, Caleb dropped a lot of knowledge on us in a really short time. So thanks a lot, Caleb. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
All right.
Okay, so as Caleb mentioned in the interview, we talked a little bit about eFlip. Now, I'm really excited about eFlip. It's something that I've used a little bit, and I have a bunch of friends, a lot of you guys that are listening have used it a lot. eFlip is something that Caleb charges $79 a month for, and it's certainly worth every penny. But he actually did a deal for us, a Bust-Proof Summer deal. He did that last year as well. And the way it works is it's going to be 3 months for $197. After that, it's $79 a month. This is a product that's just for the Bust-Proof business community, for you guys in the podcast, the people that are on the mailing list, the Facebook group. This is for you. This is your guys' deal. In addition to the discount, we're going to do some deep dive textbook training as well, Caleb and I, that's going to be exclusively for eFlip current members and for the people that sign up from the Bust-Proof community. So we're really excited about that. I hope you check it out. This is really something that I would really love to have the time to use to really get into. I know that people do a lot of arbitrage, flipping these textbooks for merchant fulfilled sellers and selling them in FBA. In fact, I know people do that with my books. In fact, Caleb does. So I know this is something that works for sure. And the software, I really like the user interface as well. So definitely check that out. And there's going to be a link in the show notes. But if you'd like to, you can write this down as well. eflip.co/product/bustproof summer. And that's going to get you to the page. It's going to show you. It's the only place on the internet you can get 3 months for $197 and then $79 a month after that. So thank you guys so much. I really think this is something, if you're into, definitely check it out. It's worthwhile. And I'll talk to you guys really soon. And remember, make today count.
That's all for this episode of the Bust-Proof Business Podcast. Be sure to point your browser to bustproofworkshop.com to sign up for our mailing list and to get your opportunity to enroll in one of our specialized seminars, guaranteeing you continued results in typical Bust-Proof fashion. Thanks again for joining us. We look forward to taking your business to the next level right here on the Bust-Proof Business Podcast.